Today we're going to be talking about how you make a chalkboard sign like this. This is the sign that I used at the entrance to my Great Gatsby party, which I showed in the video last week where I walked through all the entry decor. And if you missed that, you can go back and watch it. I will leave the link below. But in the meantime, we're going to be showing you how to make one of these signs. And you do not need to be an expert hand letterer in order to make it happen, because I am certainly not. So it will turn out just this way for anybody. Anybody can do it. And if that sounds good to you, then stay tuned for the step-by-step tutorial. Or if you wish, you can go to the blog and read it in written form with pictures if you prefer. I will leave the link for that below as well.
So here are the supplies you're going to need for this project. First is a chalkboard, then some black vinyl adhesive that's repositionable, some transfer tape, either chalk or a chalk marker, Cricut machine. You could also do it by hand, but the Cricut makes it a lot easier. A Cricut scraper, a Cricut weeding tool, and a pair of scissors. To start today's project, you're going to have to go and download the cut files from our library. So again, if you're not sure where that is, you go to entertainingdiva.com, go to the library, and go to Resource Library. And then you'll see this page that comes up that asks for your password. If you don't have a password, you'll need to go up here to Library and say get a password, and we will send it to you, as well as add you to our subscription list. Once you've got the password, then you can go down here and enter it, and that will take you to our Resource Library page, where you will find the file that we need. This is the Women's Society Book Club meeting sign files right here. And all you need to do is click on that link, and it will take you to a folder that has and it's actually a Google Drive that has the file in it, and you can download it from there. Once you've got it downloaded, then you want to switch over to Cricut Design Space. Click on the New Project button, go to the upload icon on the bottom left-hand side, select Upload Image, browse, and go to where the file was downloaded to. It's usually in your Downloads folder. Select that file, click Open, and then hit Save. You'll see it appear in your recently uploaded images. You can just click on it and say Insert Images, and then it'll put it into your new project for you. In this particular project, there really aren't any changes that you need to make unless you want to resize it. So you can just go up to the right-hand side and click the Make It button. They're going to show up on two different mat sizes, because one of them is actually wider than 12 inches, so you need a long mat in order to be able to cut it. You want to say okay to say that you know one of your images is bigger than 12 inches. Make sure the mat sizes are set to the same as your material size, so 12 by 12 for the first one should be fine, 12 by 24 or 12 by 18, 12 by 19 also works for the second one. And then hit Continue. So now you'll want to make sure that your material is set to vinyl. I'm just going to go over here and change mine. It says vinyl. I usually like to pick the plus just because it makes sure it cuts all the way through. And then we're going to have to load our tools and our mat. As you saw before in Design Space, we're going to be using two mats actually. So the first one I'm going to do is the long mat, and I'm putting this black adhesive repositionable vinyl on here. And this is what we're going to use to make sort of a stencil to draw our letters with. So you just want to make sure that it's long enough to cover all the letters that need to be printed. So if you use the same size that I did, that's about 14 inches wide, and I'm just going to cut it off across there. And then we need to do the same with the smaller mat, and for that you want to cover pretty much the whole surface. So it's going to be 12 inches by 12 inches. You do want to smooth out any major bubbles so that we get a smooth cut on the letters. And now we're ready to load our mats and start cutting. The next step is to start removing all of the letters that are inside of the vinyl. So to do this, you can just stick the point of the weeding tool into the top corner of one of the letters and pull up, and that will separate it from the backing. And then just gently remove the letter from the backing. Let's go through and do that for all of the letters on both mats. All right, now we get to the magic sauce part. So how do you transfer these letters to a chalkboard, or any surface for that matter, and still keep all the spacing in, without having any of those small parts get out of place and so on? And that is to use transfer tape. So we're going to cut a piece of transfer tape that's big enough to fit over our entire design, and then you're just going to stick it onto the front of the vinyl. It is pretty sticky, so I do find it's easiest to not peel it all the way off its backing, but just to do part of it and stick that part down and then peel it as you go. And that way you're not dealing with parts of it getting stuck on the vinyl that you didn't intend to get stuck. For this, it's not quite as important to get all of the bubbles out, since we're not actually going to be using it to write onto a surface. It's just for moving the vinyl onto the chalkboard. And you want to use your scraper to make sure that the transfer tape has adhered to the front of the vinyl. Especially making sure to push down on all the small parts, like in the middle of the O's and the G's. And then repeat the same process for the other piece of vinyl. When you're finished, just peel all the layers off of the mat. And you'll find that the transfer tape again helps to keep it all nice and straight, so you don't have to deal with curving vinyl, which is always good. And now we're going to put the letters onto our chalkboard. I like to lay them out first so I know where they're going, try and get them centered, and then cut off any excess vinyl, just because it makes it easier to get the letters on there properly if there isn't anything overlapping. Now we need to remove the backing from the vinyl. The easiest way to do this is to get your weeding tool again, stick it into a corner, and then pull up the vinyl so that it comes away from the backing. Trying to peel it with just your nails is a little tricky, at least for me. I've never been able to do that very successfully. And once you've got it peeled off, it's actually pretty stiff because of the transfer tape. Then you just want to position it where you want it to go. Now make sure that you've got it, centered, and that it's where you want it to be. So a little hard to see on here because of the reflection, but and it's all the same color. But once it's down there, you want to push it on, and again, you want to try and make sure you get rid of as many bubbles as possible, especially right around the letters. And then do the same for the other piece. Then you want to go over the whole design with the scraper and make sure that the transfer tape is stuck down properly to the vinyl, and also that the vinyl is stuck to the surface. Now we're going to go and remove the transfer tape. To do this, you just want to pull it up in one corner and then pull back directly parallel to the surface. And go very slowly because there may be parts of the vinyl that are sticking to the transfer tape instead of the surface. If that happens, you can just put the transfer tape back down, take your scraper tool and scrape over that section again to get it to stick better, and then try pull the transfer tape off again. If there are any bubbles in the vinyl around the letters, you want to scrape those out so that the chalk won't get underneath the vinyl when we go to do the stenciling. Now we're ready to start coloring the letters. And I'm going to do one half in chalk and the other half in chalk marker, just so that we can see what the difference is in the finish. So you're just basically going to go in and color in the letters. The benefit of chalk is that it's not permanent at all, so it's easy to remove if you want to reuse the board. That's also its drawback, and that if you want to have the board outside or something and it happens to rain, then your sign isn't going to last very long. So the chalk marker is more permanent, but it can also be harder to get off. If your board is slightly porous, the chalk marker will actually be more permanent than you would like it to be. And if that happens, what I usually do is just paint over the chalkboard with chalkboard paint, and then you can use it again. The last step is to peel off the vinyl, and then you'll just be left with the text. Don't forget to pick out all the little bits that get stuck in these small spaces between the letters. You can see that the top half that was done in the chalk marker has a little bit of clean edges and a little bit easier to read, but the bottom half can be erased easily. Since I was putting my sign outside, I decided to do the whole thing in chalk marker so that it was a little bit more permanent. And that's it, we're done.
Well, that's it for today. I hope you like my sign as much as I did. And even if you're not going to do a sign like this, at least you learned how to do chalkboard writing the easy way. I'm so glad you tuned in, and we'll talk again next time. Bye!